What's up, Favela fam?
We actually talked about changing what we call you guys.
Yes.
What was it? It was a plan.
I
don't know. She told me one time.
Favela. Wait, is that vampire-ish though?
Vampire-ish?
Favela? Like vampire family? Today's video is going to be very different from anything that we have ever done.
But very similar to what we watch.
Yes, so if you know us, you know that we are very into true crime.
Mystery, anything like that.
Yes,
really.
like murder, mystery, all of that types of stuff.
Oh, that goodness.
So, since it's October, Halloween is in the air. Spooky ooky vibes is what we're going to give you. We have a true crime case that we will be discussing today. It's one of those cases that's going to make you feel very angry, very confused, very like...
You're going to feel every emotion.
Yes.
Honestly.
So today we will be discussing the Martha Moxley case. And another YouTuber that we watch actually does a disclaimer before all of her videos, which I think is very smart. So we will be doing the same thing. Everything that we're telling you is just things that we have found on the internet, such as YouTube, Wikipedia, things of that sort.
Our research.
And we are putting it into this video to inform all of you and just give you the knowledge that we've been
bring light
given.
to the situation. We're not, offending, but we are trying to bring light to the situation.
The story takes place in, or this case, I mean, not a story.
Right, the case takes place in
1975 in Greenwich, Connecticut.
My father was not born.
I'll just give you some background details about the family and everything like that. David and Dorothy Moxley moved to Greenwich, Connecticut from California with their two children, a 16-year-old son whose name is not named for some reason, or at least I couldn't find it, and a 14-year-old Martha Moxley, who
this case is about. So Martha, moving into this new environment, new high school, she's popular just because of her personality, because of who she is. So in her school are these two brothers, Tommy and Michael Skakel, who is the other big family that we're gonna talk about. Break it down a little bit more. Quick fact: they're related to the Kennedys.
Yes.
And that'll come later in the story. But we're gonna throw that in there for you right now.
Yes. So the father of Tommy and Michael Skakel is named Rushton Skakel, or no, not Rushton Skakel. So Rushton Skakel inherited the company Great Lakes Carbon from his father, who owned it, built it, and everything like that. Rushton is very wealthy. The Skakels are known in this community for being the wealthy family. Correct. And at this point, actually, another fun fact is that they were indeed richer than the Kennedys at the time.
Even though they're related, but not the Kennedys.
Right. So how they were related, not that this is important, but they were related because Rushton's sister is the late widow of Robert F. Kennedy. So that's the correlation between the two families there.
Rushton's wife, so the mother of his children, who he had 7 children in total, she died in 1973. And this really affected, his kids because of, the death
the loss
of
their mother, right?
So this, I wouldn't say this necessarily started their path. Right. Well, not right. Demise, path, whatever you want to think of it. Or demise, because we can't even say that. But it definitely, I guess, solidified their, mischievous, small, petty, crimes that they committed. If it was even considered that, vandalism and, I want to say regular teen things, but because of the severity of it, it did have its ups and downs.
Yeah, so because they were getting into so much trouble and everything, Rushton actually decided to begin paying police officers to escort Michael and Tommy to and from school, basically acting as like a bodyguard. They said that they at parties they would valet cars and everything. It was really weird how they described the relationship.
Dim down as much of the trouble that he could.
Yeah. So the police were an active
part in their their lives.
Right.
They were so tied to the father that...
and obviously being a rich, wealthy man in a community like this, you want to upkeep with your reputation. And you don't want to be known as the father that can't control his children.
Right.
His wife...
family,
his wife is gone. He really is lost in regards to how to take care of his children, what path to take, and everything
7
like
kids.
that. Yeah, 7 is a lot of kids. Yeah, I couldn't... I personally couldn't handle 7 kids.
Let alone by yourself.
Exactly.
By yourself, and then, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility.
You
we don't know every
company
single
to run
thing,
and everything like that. It's just a lot.
So let's dive into the night of the murder. It was October 30th, the day before Halloween, in 1975. So this is 2 years after the passing of his mother, or the mother. And there was something in the neighborhood called Hackers Night. Now, I've never heard of this. I don't know if any of you have.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I have never heard of it before this story.
This took place in Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
So if you're from Connecticut, let us know if this, I mean, it is an older case. So let us know if you haven't.
So Hackers Night is basically known as like a night of torment before Halloween. It's a tradition that was done in the town. And it's basically like TPing houses, egging cars, you know, like the common
regular teen stuff, I guess.
like the common things you would see around Halloween, but they gave it a name and like a specific date for it.
It's almost like the Purge, but not so crazy.
Yeah, that was extreme.
Well, I mean, but that's what it is. It's like a day,
you're right.
You know, like they do it this day.
Yeah.
Martha, who of course was through this neighborhood, definitely wanted to go to this.
Yeah.
So she said.
Well, the thing is that she was on punishment for some reason. I don't know exactly why she was on punishment. They didn't go into detail about that, but she was on punishment.
Right. So she was on punishment, but she did want to go to this event, which her mother did end up allowing her to go to.
Yeah, with the contingency of her being home at 10 p.m., no later than. So Martha obviously agreed, because who wouldn't agree to be home at the time that your mother said if she's letting you go out and you're already not supposed to be out? Obviously, you're going to say yeah.
And in this instance, she was using it as a cover-up. So she wasn't going actually to this Hackers Night. In reality, she was going to a party. At guess whose?
The Skakel residence.
The Skakels, in case, we said that. That's the family of the 7 kids, the 2 brothers that she became friends with, Tommy and Michael. So the party was at the Skakels residence. And the father also hired an in-home tutor. So there's somebody always there. This tutor didn't like his job, I guess. I'm not going to say that, actually. This tutor was in-home, so he would watch TV, is what they said. He would just be upstairs and living his life in somebody else's house. Martha is getting ready to go to the party. She didn't go alone. She did go with 2 friends who I don't believe, or their names will come out later. We will bring up a couple of those friends' names, but those names do come out later. So she is in Tommy's Lincoln.
It's not clear if it's Tommy's Lincoln or not.
Right.
It's just like the Lincoln car of the residence, I guess you could say.
That they had that night. So Martha and Michael have a teen relationship. I mean, it's a teen relationship. It was like us.
No.
Like, yeah, it's a teen relationship. You know, he liked her, but it was awkward. She liked him. We're flirting. It's definitely like a flirtatious relationship, but there's something, I guess, established between them. They're not together, but there's definitely something, you know?
Yeah. So then at this point, they're sitting in the Lincoln, whatever, getting their flirt on. Tommy comes up to the Lincoln and like slides his way into the front seat. It's like a 3-seater front seat back in the day. So
Tommy is older, by the way.
Yeah, so we didn't even say that. Michael's 15, Tommy's 17.
Correct.
And Martha is also 15 years old.
Right.
So what actually happened is Tommy got in the car. I guess he starts like fondling with Martha.
He starts putting his hand on her thigh and kind of just, I guess, pushing the boundaries between him and her, which, I mean, obviously his brother and Martha already have this pre-established relationship. This makes Michael very he's uneasy. I mean, his brother is in front of him flirting,
stealing his girl.
Right, trying to steal his girl in front of him.
What ends up happening after a little bit of flirting between Tommy and Martha, 2 older brothers of the Skakel, so 2 Skakel brothers, do come up and they like lean their head in the car and they're like, hey, we need the Lincoln, like we need to go to our cousin's house. It's supposed to be a movie night over there.
Right.
Which is, let me just mention, this is really weird because there's a party going on in the Skakel residence, but then 2 of the Skakels are saying that they want to go to their cousin's house for a movie night. I thought that was odd, but who am I to say what's actually going on?
But you also have to remember there's 7 Skakels.
Yeah, so you're right.
We don't. I don't
know the age.
Right, we don't know the age,
Yeah.
so it could be, you know, a big difference in the age where, hey, this is a kid's party.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
So what ends up happening is Michael invites Martha. Martha says no. Martha and Tommy get out of the car and Michael drives off with his cousins to go to this movie night.
Of course, 10 o'clock rolls around. Guess who's not home? Martha isn't home, and she has a curfew already because she was in trouble. So her mother doesn't really, I mean, obviously get too concerned. She's more upset than concerned because she has a curfew, but she's okay with it, or she lets it slide. 12 a.m. comes along, and now she's a little worried because there's no signs of Martha. And at the time, I don't believe Martha had her own cellular device.
I don't even know when cell phones came out, honestly.
Right.
So I doubt it. The mom ends up calling Sheila McGuire's house, which is one of the friends that Martha did attend the party with.
Correct.
So Sheila's like, nah, like she went home at 9:30 or whatever. And
Which
then
is
she's
concerning.
like, what? Like, my daughter's not home,
And it's 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
so big gap.
Sheila tells her like, oh, well, we were at the Skakel's house. So Dorothy, Martha's mother, calls the Skakel house,
Right.
and Julie Skakel, a sister of Tommy and Michael, answer the phone. She says, no, the last time I saw her, she was with Tommy. It was 9:30. She was getting
Right.
ready to go home. So at this point, Dorothy's worried.
Right,
She's
because two people have told her, hey, we seen Martha at 9:30 last, so there's really no reason for her not to be home. I mean, she could be getting into, you know, teen trouble and staying out. But, I mean, as a mother, I believe you have like an instinct, like, no, there's
Exactly.
something going on because she's not home.
So Dorothy calls the police, reports Martha as a missing person, as any parent would.
So the next day in the morning, Sheila, who the friend, is coming over to Martha's house to actually help her mother search for her. On her way to her house, she finds Martha's body. She was found underneath a pine tree, so she wasn't in direct line of sight from her house. With her pants down and her skull crushed in, and a stab wound in her neck.
This shakes the entire town. Police
Let
are
alone her
called.
mother.
Exactly. Who was in a complete state of shock when she found out the news. She was just dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that this was happening. This was a sad reality. So police are called to the scene, and two officers are dispatched out. Officer Jones and Officer Hickman are dispatched out to the crime scene.
Right.
They have not been trained on how to deal with a homicide investigation because the last one that occurred in Greenwich was in 1949.
So over 25 years.
Yes, so they're basically panicking at this point. They don't know what to do. So Officer Jones leaves Officer Hickman at the crime scene to go to the squad car and dispatch for more help.
Which, to me, I mean, you know, in retrospect, is a big no-no. I mean,
Definitely.
Obviously, in the situation, I bet, you know, your adrenaline's rushing. You're just trying to fix it. You know, like, I don't know. I've never been in that situation. But as an officer, you're leaving somebody unattended who also doesn't know how to treat the system, or, you know, the scene. So there could be a lot of tampering.
Exactly.
Which occurred.
Yes, it actually did, which brings us to our next point.
Right.
Officer Jones returns back to the scene with Officer Hickman, to which he finds Officer Hickman rubbing a dog, or petting a dog, I should say, who is licking up blood from the grass of the murder scene.
Yes.
You heard it right. He's licking up blood, and this officer is just
Petting him. Now, I'm not one to criticize. I mean, I think that's pretty, like, hey, don't let a dog lick up what could be evidence, but
I mean, it's common sense.
I would think so.
Common sense ain't that common though, okay?
True. Chief of Detectives Tom Keegan arrives, where he assesses the situation, and I mean, it's a gruesome situation, where obviously this seems crazy. I mean, it's just a teenage girl who was, I mean, she was murdered, you know, in cold blood. So near the scene, parts of the murder weapon were actually found. I believe, don't get at me if I'm saying this wrong, I'm not into golf, but they found a Tom Penna golf club, and it was a six iron golf club, which they found the head of the golf club in one spot, little bit to the side, they found the, I guess, the stem, the shaft of it. And guess what was missing?
The handle, which has the fingerprints on it, which is what the police investigators obviously need to get any type of DNA evidence. There weren't many resources in regards to DNA and, you know,
finding it.
Exactly.
Actually, the golf club shaft, the stick of the golf club, was found near a 3-foot pool of blood.
So, obviously, to your surprise, the next thing in the case is they go to the Skakel residence because this is the last place that Martha was seen alive.
Correct.
And they have a set of golf clubs, Tony Pina, or however. And guess which one is missing? The 6-iron golf club.
Correct.
So this obviously raises red flags. No search warrants, no wiretaps on the phones or anything like that. They did bring Michael and Tommy in for an investigation or for an interrogation. And Michael stated that after the movie with his cousins, he ended up going home, going to bed at 10:20 and not waking up until the next morning. Tommy recalls the events of the night unfolding as Martha leaving at 9:30. He saw her leave, she went home, and then he went upstairs and watched TV with the in-home tutor for the rest of the night.
He does a good job at it.
Yeah, so this is their alibi, okay? This is what they were doing. This is what they said to happen the night of, so they don't know what happened to Martha.
So this leads to the case going cold, and Dorothy and David end up leaving Connecticut and moving to New York. Surely because, I mean, losing a daughter, and I guess maybe just living in the house, you know, it's, I mean, I would definitely understand why they would move.
For sure. So fast forward a little bit, Tommy goes to college, he flunks out. Michael lives a life where he abuses alcohol and drugs, which is very odd. Or I shouldn't say odd, but I should say
telltale.
This causes things to unfold in a way that you wouldn't imagine. His father gets him into many different programs to try to sober him up, to which every single one fails. He jumps around from job to job for the most part, and the case is closed. There is nothing to link the two to the crime scene or anything like that. The case is cold, like he said. So then something else happens, which causes the case to resurface. One of the Kennedys gets convicted of a crime in 1991, and obviously the two families are related, so this causes the case of Martha Moxley to resurface and come back into light.
The situation.
Exactly.
Surely because of relation.
Exactly. So then this brings a very important aspect to the case into perspective. Mark Furham, who was a previous police investigator,
turned author.
Yes, he's now an author of like true crime mystery novels and things of that sort. He gets a hold of the case, and obviously in plain sight, what makes sense? Who is the victim? I mean, who is the
perpetrator?
Guilty? Yes.
Just based on what's going on, I mean, hey.
It's not hard to figure out, okay? You probably already know who it is.
Right.
So he gets a hold of this case. He starts to investigate it. So what he first does is dissect the two police theories that they stated happened in 1975 when the incident first occurred.
Right.
The first one being that the in-home tutor did it.
That's how I feel about the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the police, I guess they were doing their job, but at the same time, they're trying to find answers with no evidence. So this is just speculation at this point. It's just theories like, hey, maybe this happened, because none of the theories led to anything else. That's what they were.
The second theory is that someone from the turnpike, or I shouldn't put turnpike in quotes, someone from the turnpike gets off, stops their car, murders Martha with no reasoning, just
looking for
in cold
a girl.
blood. Yes, just random murder, and he disappears into thin air. No explanation, no nothing, anything of the sort.
Okay, to me, this just seems like bad police work.
It's a reach.
Somebody just killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know what happened. We don't know what he is.
Anything.
He just stopped, decided to murder her, and left.
What the author Mark Furham does is he tracks down one of the original investigators that was on the scene of the crime, Officer Jones, who I did mention before.
Right.
So when he approaches Officer Jones, he wants to find out...
Who returned to the squad car.
Exactly. He wants to find out what happened to this piece of evidence. How can this be missing for so long? And when I say that, I'm referencing the handle, which contains the fingerprints on it,
right,
of the golf club. He says, what happened to it? What is the mystery about it? How could something like this never be discovered? And Officer Jones recalls the shaft of the golf club. Sorry if this is too much information for you, but the shaft of the golf club being
lodged in her
throat when he arrived to the scene. And then he stated that somehow the handle or the rubber material that's on the end of the golf club was misplaced somehow. But it was there.
Not only that, but that over 3 people had tampered with the evidence.
Over 3 people had moved her body by the time that the chief investigator, Tom Keegan, had arrived to the scene. Does that make sense? Does any of this make sense? This is where some things tie together in my mind. I did explain to you that the police had a close relationship with the Skakels in regards to them working with each other and things like that. So doesn't it just make sense that Officer Hickman gets left alone with Martha Moxley's body, and somehow the most crucial piece of evidence comes up missing?
Right. It's just too
coincidental.
Right.
Too perfect for me.
Especially after being left alone. Just the sheer irresponsibility of him, the dog, the moving of the body. All of this is just not adding up.
The author Mark Furham digs a little bit deeper into the investigation. He ends up being given a lead by one of his fellow author reporters and he gives him this file of information. And this file was being kept in a high security location, which was called Sutton Associates, and you guessed it, who's paying for this to be kept there? Rushton Skakel.
Correct.
And he is basically paying for these files, which Eddie's going to explain what contains in the files. He's basically paying for them to not be discovered by anybody else. So I'm just going to let Eddie explain to you the details of what is inside of these files.
What is in these files is a 98-page investigation that was a self-investigation by the Skakels. So now we're going 20 years, into the future. DNA analysis is in the up and up, so it's different. There's blood, there's
semen,
other fluids,
hair follicles, and saliva and things of that sort.
That can definitely now be traced, and with the confidence. So I guess this causes a panic in the Skakels, and you can't, I guess it almost creates like a sense of, you cannot catch me if I don't allow you to, and I cover my tracks up. So they basically are trying to clear themselves of any possibility of being tied to the case.
Mm-hmm. So what this means is that they create new alibis for themselves, which does, in the report, does say Michael and Tommy both admitted to lying to the police the night, or
with their original
investigation or interrogation, I should say.
Right.
They did state that they lied.
So those alibis are now known.
Tommy's new alibi states that after Michael left, him and Martha returned back into the Skakel residence and began to have a sexual encounter with one another.
Right.
I'm not going to go into detail about what exactly happened, but this sexual encounter would explain why any semen, saliva, hair follicles, or any type of DNA evidence will be found on Martha in the event that they did discover any information like that.
Michael's new alibi is that he just really wanted to find somebody to be with that night.
In a sexual way.
Right. So he went out and he decided to go to Martha's residence. He decided to try to get her attention by climbing up in a tree and throwing rocks at her window, which to his alibi led to nothing. So he decided that, hey, I'm in this tree, hey, I'm feeling these feelings, I might as well take it into my own hand. And he
you should understand what Eddie means by that.
So if there is any remnants of him, fluids, hair follicles, anything, this is the reason why. Because he was in a tree by himself, nobody else was there, he didn't see nobody. This is why any fluids of him will be left by.
Now, why this matches up perfectly is because at the crime scene, which he is placing himself at now,
above in the tree,
above where Martha was found, okay? This is why anywhere in that area where
you would find his DNA.
Exactly. But this is too perfect. Mark is thinking this was written by a lawyer and
trying to cover this up.
Exactly. Which is really stupid because it definitely backtracks Michael's original statement by a long shot. He's placing himself directly at the scene of the murder.
The time of, everything is just too perfect.
In the report, it states that Michael is marginally driven by impulse. Now what we're going to explain to you is what Mark Furham has come up with. His timeline of events that has happened that night. The breakdown of everything based off of the newfound evidence, the clear view of what happened, and his way of being able to communicate that to everybody that's curious about it.
What the author, Mark, says happened is that Michael came home and he found Tommy and Martha together. And this obviously caused Michael, who already we know is driven off impulse, to react. Obviously this is an awkward situation. This is just, nobody wants to be in it. So Martha's upset, Tommy's upset, Michael's upset. So Martha goes home. He then says that Michael follows her, and because of how enraged and off his impulse, attacks her.
And the reason why they think that she was attacked like this from behind is because there were no defense wounds. So they believe that it was somebody that she knew. And this was the original thought from jump. Yeah. It wasn't like this was new evidence or anything like that. She had no defense wounds on her. So obviously this was somebody that she trusted. She didn't mind walking home with her. And somebody that could get into her personal space that easily.
Or also just attacked, also attacked just by sheer surprise, you know?
Unfortunately, Martha is murdered that night. And it takes over 20 years for the truth to come out. Fast forward, it is now 1998, and Murder in Greenwich by Mark Furham comes out with all this information that we just shared with you. This strikes a fire under the justice system in Greenwich.
Thankfully.
They get a grand jury to indict Michael Skakel, and long story short, after deliberating for 4 days, the jury comes back and convicts him of second degree murder. He's sent to jail for 20 years, and he was eligible for bail in 2013, to which he was granted. His conviction was overturned by the Connecticut Supreme Court of Justice, I believe, and he's a free man now.
Yes.
And obviously you can see how frustrated we are with the situation. We want to hear your thoughts and comments below on what you think about the situation in the justice system. What do you think the police handled incorrectly and what they could have done better to solve the case in less than 2 decades?
Right, let's really start a conversation, because to me it just seems way too perfect. They already have a relationship with the police, and now everything is just dandy with no real answers.
Yeah. So if you like this video, we will be doing more of those. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment down below.
Let us know what to do next. What case?
And we love you.
Yes,
Thank you for watching, and have a great night. Bye-bye.